Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Cara-Mel, and welcome to LYV. We have an amazing show, y'all, today with husband and wife gospel rap duo Relentless Hope. Get your popcorn, get your chips, your tea, whatever you like, and hang out with me. Stay tuned for my exclusive interview with Relentless Hope. You gotta live. You gotta live. You gotta. You're my latter years, my greatest years. Shed a few tears, sacrifice, walking my purpose and calling, have no fear. New you, new male, chosen by the Most High. No weapon formed against us can dim our lives. Yes, gotta live for the promised land. Live to see another day. Yeah, you gotta take a stand. Show up, show out, voice to the people. Live to be the best version of self. You gotta live. Back in spring of 2022, I had the pleasure to meet Jonna and David, aka Doughboy, known as the dynamic gospel hip-hop duo Relentless Hope, at the Extreme Objective Sessions in Nashville, Tennessee. It was an instant connection. As soon as they hit the stage to crossing paths that very weekend, I knew that they were a force to be reckoned with within the gospel rap community. With trials and the many challenges faced in life, hear their amazing testimony from marriage to music. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to LYV. I'm your host, Cara-Mel, and we have a special treat for y'all. The one, the only, the dynamic duo, Relentless Hope. How are y'all today?
Hey, what's up out there?
How are you? We're going to jump right into it. So David, I know for you was already like in the hip-hop game and things of that nature.
Yes.
So we're going to start with a little bit of the background. What got you into hip hop, and also too, backtracking, where are you from? Tell the people where you're from.
Originally from Tennessee, but I grew up in between Peoria, Illinois and Detroit, Michigan, but mostly Peoria, mostly Illinois. Say my formative years.
Nice. See, I didn't even realize you were from Tennessee. I was thinking Florida for y'all.
That's where I was born.
Yeah.
But I left there when I was young, like 10 or something like that.
Okay.
And then went to Illinois, then Detroit, and Illinois, Detroit. All depends where I was getting in trouble at. I
hear that. And so, like, now as far as like music, like, when did you know like hip hop or just music in general was like your calling?
Oh, it's crazy. Music, I've always loved music. Like, I come from my dad always listening to songs and, just playing different music, when I'd be driving with him or stuff like that. So I always loved music, but hip hop, growing up, I'm old, so growing up in the 80s, like, Run DMC changed my life and LL Cool J, you know what I'm saying? Like, I remember the first time I ever heard I Need Love, I was like, oh, I can do this, you know what I mean? And so that's what started my love for hip hop, and then soon after, I started writing songs at a young age, and then doing them, the whole rapping in lunch lines, all that stuff. And then did my first, I think, church ever. Like, I was 15, I think, at like a youth group or something. A song I wrote, I did it. A guy was in the group, crowd that seen me, said, hey, man, I was thinking about starting a group. And then I jumped head into it then and started rapping at a young age, doing a lot of concerts back then. So.
Nice. And so
that's how I got into it.
So now that we want to talk about like a little bit of church, so how did you get into now? So obviously you started out like just regular secular on the secular side, correct? So right. When did you feel the need to transition? What was that time frame to start?
I'd been through, my parents had got divorced and the whole single mom, and she got remarried, and so she had gotten saved and I was out, doing everything you could think of to get in trouble. And I remember I got arrested and I was in a juvenile detention center, and I got out and my mom had started going to this church in Lighthouse in Illinois. And I just remember thinking, I went to like, the youth group and, prayed and rededicated my life, to the Lord. I got saved young, and then I just started doing music like from there on. Nice. And I've only did one project ever secular, even though I walked away from God different times in my life. Yeah. I never did music out of the church. Or, I never did. You won't find a bunch of records with me cussing in it. Let's put it that way.
I got you.
I did do one project when I was away from God in my early 20s, and it never got released because I kind of made a promise to my mom and God that I would never do any songs if it wasn't glorified God. So over my years of doing music, I would get some success, but if I fell away from God or, backslid or whatever, I would just stop doing music. So it would all get put on hold right then,
I got you. I understand. Miss J, I like to call you. So,
yes, ma'am.
So now let's go and tell the people how you intertwined to add to this dynamic duo. So did you originally start out in music? Tell the people how you got involved and y'all became together as this duo.
It was kind of crazy because David and I were, like friends for a long time. And then he came out with a song, which he wasn't sure if he wanted, really to release it or not. And it was called Leaving Behind. And I was like, dude, that's a great song. I was like, you need to release that. It's really good. So then I became like, besides his mother, his #1 fan. And I knew all his words. He would go somewhere, and he'd be like, watching me because I knew all the words, and he's like, okay, I need you to be my hype man, because it was like people would let him down, wouldn't show up. So I'm like, what? Be your hype man? But listen, I can get pumped. I'm like, all right, let's go. Yeah. So that's how it started. And then the next thing I knew, he was like, I can teach you, which he's a great teacher. He's like, if you just let me teach you and you listen to me, then we can do this together. And I had no plans of this at all, but kind of happen. And to be honest, I love it. I love the energy. I love being a dynamic duo. I have a lot of fun with it.
That's the thing like God does. You just don't know what direction God is gonna take you.
Yeah.
I know you told me I would be rapping.
Yeah. If you would have told us, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, whatever, that we were gonna be doing rap and seeing some traction, so to speak, and getting, noticed a little bit and people wanting us to come places together. She gets, more attention than I do. She brings the energy, you know what I'm saying? And, it's good because I've watched her evolve as an MC and her stage presence and in the studio. Used to in the studio, it was almost like you had to shut the doors, turn the lights off, act like we wasn't there.
Don't look at me.
And, I understand.
And then if it was a bad take, you had to be careful how you said it. You know what I mean? Because she's my wife, so not only is she my rap partner, she's my wife. Kind of like, do I look fat in these jeans? Like, no, you look amazing. Right? It was kind of the same thing in the vocal booth. Like, she's like, I suck, don't I? I'm like, no, it was good, but change this. But and she's only been rapping really not long, 3 years maybe, something like that.
Good.
And
a year hard.
A live performance is maybe a year, pretty serious. So, she's evolved as far as delivery and working on her own stuff like that. So it's awesome that we can do it together. And it's not just because sometimes I think in husband and wife stuff, like I've known over the years, a lot of times, if the husband's the one who does the music, the wife's kind of like working the merch table, or she's, even though she supports them behind the scenes, she don't get it. And then sometimes if a wife's a singer and the husband's just a little travel around guy, like, us, it's like 50-50 and it just works. And people, there's something dynamic because marriage is kind of, the Satan didn't show up until Eve came along. You know what I mean? Like, because a union is to show God's love and how we should be unified. So when we go places, people see it, they get it, you know what I mean? And it's awesome. So I wouldn't rather have, I've toured the world and I've had a lot of ugly people touring with me, you know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy too, Cara-Mel, because we own 2 businesses together. We do ministry together. Everything is either family oriented or us. So it's crazy because some people are like, how do you guys not kill each other? Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. There's some days where I like to run them over with the car, reverse, do it again. But I don't, okay?
Jesus will forgive her.
Jesus,
no.
Thank you. Jesus forgive me. No, I don't. But, it's just realizing that I'm supposed to be his rib. You know, I'm supposed to be his other half. I'm supposed to be his other Canito, his helpy. So I take that serious, and that's just how we roll with it.
And it works good. It's worked good. You know what I mean? And
he's still alive.
Yeah. And I'm excited to see her. You know, I'm excited to see her grow her own fan base of girls that are like, and it's funny because some of these people have been rapping way longer than her, or they've been doing music way longer, and they're like, oh man, you're so strong. I want to, so it's encouraging for me to see her, be able to grow into her own thing. You know what I mean? And
well, y'all two are beasts, regardless. Y'all can hold your own together.
We don't stop. They may out school us, but they won't out hustle us. I
know that's right, and that's all that matters. Now, before we go on, so 2 questions. Being that you're talking about marriage, it's a lot of going on right now, a lot of divorce, a lot of, and the enemy's attacking. What would be a message that you want to say to those who are going through right now in a marriage? Anything?
My thing is this, and it took me a long time to learn this, and some counseling to learn this, some good Christian counseling.
Good counseling.
I used to be a dude who, I'm Irish, so we're prideful people. Like, I don't want to ask nobody for no help, and that's what weak people do. And and if you got to remember that your husband or your wife is your number one human relationship, okay? And it goes God, and then your wife, then your children, or your husband, then your children, then your business, home. It all goes like that. And us coming from, we had a blended family. She had kids, I had kids, and we came into it. And I had to learn that she takes priority over everything. Yeah. And I think if you do that, and it isn't easy always, you know what I mean? But if you make that commitment and you realize that, it's a lot easier in the long run, Yeah. That's my thing.
I agree with what David said, but too, for me, it's just realizing that God comes first. You know what I mean? Because if I put God first, everything else falls into perspective. You know what I mean? I might not understand it sometimes. My heart might hurt sometimes. My heart might hurt for my kids, but it's just knowing that, okay, God gave me this man. God put this man in my life. So now I need to trust God that he knows what I need, right? So as far as my kids, I have to trust David with my kids' hearts, with my heart, and it's just going into that, just guns blazing, knowing, all right, I made this commitment, and it's a commitment. It's a commitment between God, between David, and between I. So it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or says. What matters is that we stay focused and we do what we know we need to do.
All right, and that sums it up as communication, period.
That's right. Communication.
Yes. Note to everyone. I hope y'all paid attention to what they just said.
So true.
So the next thing, so now, like I said, that second question, back to marriage, then we're going to get back to some music. I know you all were friends. How did y'all get together? Like, let the people know.
Well, we're going to be transparent. You wouldn't expect us to be any other way than real.
No way. Yep.
You got some real white fans, girl. But actually, Jana's ex and me were in jail together, actually. Gotcha. Like, I had not been in trouble. It's, again, just part of my story. So our story is so crazy. But I had been a Christian rapper on the road. I moved to Florida. I knew nobody. Like, I left my covering and everything, came here, and tried to get involved in churches. Like, I'd go in and be like, hey, man, I'm not from here. I need some people to be like, this dude, And so, unfortunately, that happens a lot in churches. You can go to a new church and not meet anybody, so to speak, So I was searching for some people, and I ended up, the world will always take you in. Come on in here, buddy. You know what I mean? And got involved in some things, and I had not been in trouble or arrested for years, like years, and I got in some trouble, like a little thing, and arrested, and I was in jail, and I was actually crying, which is crazy. I was like, I can't believe I'm in jail, I don't, this ain't me. I'm a Christian rapper. And her ex was in there, which they were kind of, together, but not together. And I got out and I went to church. I told him, I said, as soon as I get out, I'm finding me a church, because I hadn't been in Florida long. And I went to church that Sunday, and him and Jana was there. And he said he remembered like my whole name. He was like, David Cravens. And I'm like, hey, what's up? And I remember I met Jana, and I couldn't stand her. To be honest, I was like, this girl's got an attitude. She thinks she's tough. And anyway, man, long story short, David came in my life, and they were in, not still in a bad place on drugs and stuff. I was doing drugs too, but not like that kind of. I was still working and trying to, I was trying not to get back out where I used to be. And
I was a mess.
Yeah, she was at her worst probably, and they came into my life, and me and him wasn't real close. Like, I didn't care for him particularly as a friend, but I remember sitting on my back porch, and Jonna will tell you, I never hit on her. I was always a gentleman. I thought, the more I got to know her, I started to see that was a front a little bit. She was a broken person that, was putting on a front. And I just remember sitting on my back porch, and it's in a song that I wrote for her one time, and looking at her and thinking, if she can get away from him and get some help, she'll be she's a special person.
Yeah.
And then, she went into Teen Challenge, and then we became friends and was best friends for a while. And then I finally made enough jokes to get her to fall in love with me. I know what my luck, but I know if I kept the jokes going, I could have been all right.
Who asked who out? Who asked who out first?
It wasn't like that.
Just like
it wasn't like it was. Remember, like she would help me, like. I worked a lot, like, and she was getting out of Teen Challenge, trying on her feet, and she was a mentor there, but like she's making a lot of money. She'd been in like 2 years, like she was there a year than a mentor. And I just remember, like, she would clean my house because I was like, I had 2 little kids, but I was a bachelor or, single, going through whatever I was going through, and we're slobs and still are. So I started paying her to clean my house, but now she still cleans. But and so I couldn't be there. Like, it was like she got out of Teen Challenge, so she was real strict, like, like how she was around, she was serving God and so I couldn't be at my house while she was cleaning it, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. And then we just started becoming best friends, like, and then it just one thing led from another. I remember, like, one time I was like, you don't want to get involved with me, and I didn't want to take her down any road, she was doing good. And so I kind of quit talking to her, and she went on a date, and I was like, oh, I can't believe you go on a date with, I don't want to beat the guy up, and she's like, you're not my boyfriend. And then so our love story is crazy, right? And at Cracker Barrel, I told her one day, I said, I love you, I think. And she was like, I've been waiting for you to say that. And then it went from friends to like, boom,
Aren't they always slow? Ladies, aren't they always slow?
That's how her and my mom became such good friends. She's like, why is your son such an idiot?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, his mom would call me and be like, just don't give up on him. Don't give up on him. I love Siggy. But it was crazy.
We went in it.
That's good. No, I don't have too many married couples up here, so that's why I like to people to share how they got together and things. It helps people sometimes by hearing like your journey, and it might touch someone else or resonate with someone else.
Or just somebody, And
everybody was against. A lot of people was against me and Jonna getting together. Jonna and I getting together. Trying to work on my grammar.
Pretty much.
Jonna and I.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And so. It's crazy. People that talked and said, they won't make it. They're divorced now. But I'm not trying to be funny, but, and they didn't go through half. I shouldn't say that, but we've been through some stuff and insecurities, But so, and we've almost got divorced twice, through the last 10 years. And we just refused to be a statistic. And we just would hit counseling again and enroll in marriage classes and go to marriage retreats. And never did I think, and it's one of my buddies who's been married for way longer than John and I have been married. He said, never did I think David Cravens would be the guy I'd call to get marriage advice from. And because, I wasn't good at relationships, but it was just a hold that Satan had on me from childhood until I dealt with it and let God take it. And so, it's crazy. We work together 24 hours a day.
Oh,
we work together, we travel together, we minister together. And, the first few years was some big arguments, and they would last long sometimes, and now we'll start to get in an argument. It's funny, and it will last for like 3 minutes, and then we're just like, okay, where do you want to eat at? Like, so,
I'm tired.
Yeah, we don't got time for it. And that's another thing about marriage, learning the other person, learning when you better ease up, and you know what I mean? Like, and vice versa. So
Yeah.
we're just, you know, I'm believing what my youth group told me when I was my youth leader. Said, David, marriage is awesome. I'm like, I mean, married people, I've been around, you know what I mean? But you know, now in life, you know, it's like, yeah, I couldn't see myself not being married. It just, you know what I mean? I'd never be without her. I don't
It's a mind state thing too. You got to be positive. You got to go on things, you know, thinking positive. You know?
Sometimes you got to fake it in your brain. You're right. You know what I mean? And just keep moving.
And you y'all both brought up one thing, how people are against. It's crazy how people can be against a relationship and they're trying to speak negativity over it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's nuts. True. It's like you'll hear somebody say, very rarely, if let's just say somebody says, hey, how's John and Sandy doing? And they'll go, oh, they're doing amazing. They're going to make it. This is all. But if they say, how's John and Sandy? Oh, you heard what John did, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll be on that, because that's the world's narrative in everything. Whether it be race, religion, politics. And if I can say anything about this hurricane that we went through, I ain't heard nobody talk politics. I ain't heard nobody talk race. I ain't heard nobody talk religion. But it's brought the community back together. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, if anything,
it's cool
good come out of it, you know? So
it's really neat to just watch people come together, you know, and try to help each other. Even people, like, we have customers that, you know, that I thought maybe they were a certain way, and then this happening and us getting to go back into their home and help them out. Just realizing that, I mean, we're all just people, you know, and we all need help, and we're supposed to encourage each other and lift each other up and do whatever we can to help each other.
No, that's so true. Now, speaking of Florida, y'all came out with a hot song.
All right, y'all. So we are doing an affiliated and as well as a sponsorship program. Those who want to support the LYV television TV show that like what we're doing for the kingdom. And so if you are interested, please go to www.iamcara-mel.com and click on the LYV TV Show tab. And you'll see down there where it talks about the affiliate program. Those who join or sponsor or part of our affiliated program, they will be added to our sponsorship tab or sponsorship page, where people will be able to click on your brand and gain exposure from my site. All right, you all, I want to say thank you for today's episode sponsorship. That's Straight Pride Brand Clothing. Thank you for my t-shirt. Loving it, loving it, loving it. And you can learn more about this particular brand and how they're doing things for the kingdom on their website, which will be listed below. All right, y'all. Y'all know I'm so excited always to just share some amazing things that's going on in my music life and throughout. First off, I want to say thank you to everyone who have taken the time out and took the time out to donate through the GoFundMe, through Cash App, PayPal, to allow the opportunity for Cara-Mel and the Cook-Up Crew to go to Nashville, Tennessee to perform at the Bobby Jones Presents show. All I have to say is, those who have donated, please look for an email coming from me directly. I have a special gift for you all, and it's just to show appreciation, and it's exclusively for you all first and foremost. So thank you again. To the Cook-Up Crew, thank you so much, Kings, for just supporting, you know, me and just coming to rehearsal and practice. I want to talk about healing. Healing is a very important thing. We all have, there's been people who have received diagnoses and of getting an illness or a disease or, you know, certain things of that nature. And I just want to go to Exodus 15:26, which states, I am the Lord who heals you. Just simple like that. I am the Lord that heals you. Exodus 15:26. Many of you all know my story. And with that said, I am a 2-time breast cancer survivor. And with that said, I went in with a positive attitude that second time around because I knew that God had me. I knew at that point the way I had to change my mind state. I had to think differently. I had to think positive. I had the most important times when I got close to God even more. I was already close with God, but I knew it was time to go into fasting, time to go into prayer, and surround myself around support, which is very important. When you have the faith, and you know that God got you, you just have to put forth the actions to demonstrate that you already know that your healing is coming. So for those who think that they can't make it, for those who want to give up, whether you have cancer or any type of diagnosis, whatever's going on with you, even down to back pain or whatever, I'm walking proof. I'm sitting here right now as a 2-time breast cancer survivor and saying it is my faith that got me through. It's the support that got me through. But most importantly, my relationship with God had gotten so strong, so much stronger. It was through my faith. Through my faith. And with that, I demonstrated the actions. I walked. That's the difference too. I walked like I was already healed. I already had in my mind state, I was already healed. So I was walking like I was cancer free already. Point blank period. So when they tested my lymph nodes under my armpit and things like that, before the surgery, before I got my mastectomy, I knew it. I knew that it was going to be not had spread. It was going to be just non-invasive, and they did what they needed to do. It took me a little over 9 months to recover, but it was a fast recovery based off of a lot of people who have had a mastectomy. So I'm saying all this to you all is to say, never give up. I'm a walking testimony. I've been through a lot, but I'm still here. I'm still standing. And if you on this earth, that means God ain't finished with you yet. All right. Till next time, y'all. Peace and blessings.